everyone, and welcome to Battle of the Empires. We have a great show planned out for you today. For those of you who are unfamiliar with our show, let me go over the rules. On Battle of the Empires, we select two empires, randomly chosen by our organizers, to go head-to-head. Each country has a representative, chosen for the influential things they've done for their country, who speaks for their nation and fights for its behalf. They debate over 3 themes, depending on the nations and the time period. But enough of the rules. Let's get started. Our competitors today are Japan and Russia. Our time period we'll be using to debate is 1450 to 1750. Now for our representatives. In this corner, here to represent the Third Rome, the late Ivan the Third. Woo! Let's have some applause.
To be here.
And we're glad to have you here today. And his opponent for the day is here for the land of the rising sun, the home of the samurai, Hideyoshi Toyotomi. Whoa.
Konnichiwa. It is a pleasure to be here.
Thank you both for being here. So, folks, we'll be comparing the growth and strengths of Russia and Japan in 3 categories: politics, economy, and society. You guys mind telling the audience a bit about yourselves and why you were chosen to represent this specific time period? Why don't we start with you, Ivan?
Not Ivan, Ivan.
Ivan, sorry. Please tell us more about yourself.
Well, I'm the Grand Prince of Moscow and the Grand Prince of all the illustrious land of Rus. I am most known for my glorious conquest of the Mongolian lands, forcing the Golden Horde out of Russia. I tripled Russian land and brought about economic sound leadership, laying the groundwork for the Russian state and the greatest nation in the world.
You also stopped the growth of culture and art in this country, choosing territory over technology and the culture flourishing in the West.
That's debatable.
Not really. Now then, Hideyoshi. Can I call you Toyotomi?
No, you will stick to my surname.
Harsh. Okay, go ahead.
I am Hideyoshi Toyotomi. I succeeded my liege lord Oda Nobunaga after his death and became the military master of Japan. While I never achieved shogun, my successor did, and my reforms and rule affected Japanese culture and strength.
The first category we're going to be debating is economy. How did your respective civilizations develop and advance your economies? Let's start with you this time, Hideyoshi. Tell us about it.
Well, in the beginning of the era, my economy was centered around villagers bound to a feudal lord. They would grow and store foodstuffs, giving a percentage as tribute to their lords.
Right.
The rest going to their families.
Okay.
Artisans used their materials to create non-food items, and merchants were only needed when an item couldn't be found in Japan.
I heard from my superiors, sorry to interrupt you, that merchants were disliked or looked down upon. Do you have a reason for this?
It was a religious thing.
Right.
They were very evil in our eyes.
They're just impure, right?
Yes.
Okay, please continue, I'm sorry.
As I was saying, merchants were not popular in Japan. It wasn't until near the end of the era that this form of economy changed and grew much.
Right, the feudal system, correct?
Yes.
Fascinating. Thank you, Hideyoshi. Care to explain why you think you're better, Ivan?
Ivan and I know we're better.
Why?
The fall of Mongolia did admittedly leave us a bit low in trade, but we lost trade routes and stability, but that was only temporary. Commercial success was a very high priority. Russia had it.
Right, yeah, it was a big thing that was one of your big focuses, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I focused on agricultural, we have to take priority of our large land mass.
Right.
Much of it we can use, yes, our raw materials from the Siberia. Trade was another focus as well. We opened much of our trade routes to the Western goods and technology.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you guys really pushed for westernization in general, correct?
Yes, we did.
I was also informed you use a coercive labor system. Both of you do.
Oh, the serfs?
Yeah.
Oh, them. Yes, we utilize serfs. There are quite a bit of them, actually. The peasantry consisted of hard-working serfs, and they were tied to the land because they couldn't pay their debts to the government. They couldn't pay their debts off, and so they come work for us, and serfdom admittedly became hereditary in 1649 because, well, honestly, they were dying too fast. And they couldn't pay off their debts, so we let their children handle that. They work the land, they grow crops on farms, and eventually they sell it back to the government so they can attempt and lift their serfdom.
Alright. Thank you, Ivan.
Call me Ivan one more time and I will invade Poland again. Paul?
How did you know she was Polish?
I can sense weakness. I'm just kidding.
That's not funny.
I have my men research my opponents in the show.
How funny. So did I.
I don't think you're actually allowed to do that. This is a case-sensitive thing. I'm gonna go on. My superiors say, yeah, we have a winner for round one. Now, this is an odd way of judging it. We're not saying one economy is better than the country to lay the better groundwork and prepare themselves for a stronger economy is Russia.
As expected.
How can that be?
Well, I'm sorry, I don't
we
make
were
the
much
decision.
better, and we opened our borders
I
to
don't
other
see how
countries.
you barbarians were better.
Now for a word from our sponsors.
Barbarians.
Tonight, when you buy one thing from our store online, you will get a free map or timeline of Russia or Japan. Have a nice night.
And we're back from our commercial break. Did you guys miss us? The next round is about to begin. Politics and government. Yvonne, tell us, how did Russia lead its country?
Well, we began with a more regional collection of power.
Right.
Cities had princes, they reigned over their own area, and the Mongols used these princes as regional leaders. I gained my power through allies like the church and other princes.
Right, you began as a prince as well,
I
correct?
did, yes.
Okay.
Glad to know you know your history.
I try.
Well, I refused to give Mongols any more tribute, and as a result, they tried to fight me, and I pushed them out.
Just chase them away.
Indeed, right all the way across the Siberian plain.
Okay.
As a result, I became the first Tsar, but even though this happened, Russia was not instantly unified. That took many, many more years.
Right.
In fact, it wasn't until Peter the Great came around that the Tsar really became an autocrat and focused more on absolutist trends.
Right, didn't the princes just want to keep up with the tribute system?
Yes, they were more interested in their payment,
Oh,
as
of course.
is normal today, so I hear.
Mm.
Peter dabbled a bit in bureaucracy, hiring many foreign bureaucrats from Europe, some from Asia, though more from Europe.
Right, and wasn't there also like this big absolutist trend, you know, for the kings?
There was. So I've heard, but yes, there was an absolutist trend that came about. Overall, the growth of power in Russia helped us to be able to maintain a strong autocracy government.
Well said, thank you. Next, Hideyoshi, tell us more about Japan. How did it work?
At the start of the era, we're talking about 1600s.
Right.
Japan used a feudal lord system, like I've said. The lords were called daimyos, and they also had an emperor.
Right.
The daimyos each had a region that they controlled. Now, this actually led to the Warring States era, all vying for area, all separated from each other. It wasn't until Nobunaga that a daimyo was able to unite the regions, paving the way for the Tokugawa shogunate.
Correct.
And greater central control. While the daimyo had a degree of freedom and independent control, they were required to give taxes and their loyalty to the shogun. The shogun was the strongest daimyo. controlling the nation's military, and even more powerful than the emperors.
In matters of state?
Yeah. Now, the emperor remained the technical leader, but it wasn't until later that they had a real say in things.
Are you saying they were more of a figurehead?
They were a figurehead.
Interesting. All right, that's really interesting. We have to give the judges a moment to deliberate, but while we're waiting, I've noticed that there are a lot of similarities between the two of you. With your economies, you both had a sort of feudal, almost feudal system, where you had the villagers and the lords, and they gave tribute, and then, you had the serfs to pay off debts. And then with the government, you both started with more regional controls, and it wasn't until later that you were able to get that strong central control. It's really interesting. I think our judges have come to a decision. All right, yeah, they're telling me. This is a surprise. Now remember, we're judging this on a lot of different factors. It isn't just cut and dry.
We get it.
For future developments? Okay. The winner is Japan.
Of course, although we had our flaws, we were far more superior in our systems than our barbarian neighbors.
Say that again and I'll cut you in half.
Barbarian!
No. Security! Security, we'll be back after this break! And we're back from the unexpected break. Both of you are getting points off for your behavior, by the way.
You don't want to do that, Paul.
I'm not scared of you. Did I say taking away points? I meant adding.
What? Why don't I get extra points?
Oh, it's not like you have much influence with Poland or much of Eastern Europe. Actually, that brings us to our next topic. Foreign relations and society. Can you tell us about the social structure of Russia, Yvonne?
I can. Russia had clear lines on our intentions. We warred with the Ottomans and Swedes and spread far east. We had every intention to increase our territory as a nation, especially with my descendants. We welcomed Western influences. We saw the value and wisdom around the world. Peter the Great in particular pushed for Westernization. We took advantage of the European culture and fused it with our own.
Oh.
Russia even hired a multitude of brilliant minds to add to Russian culture.
Like the bureaucrats, correct?
Correct. Though our government evolved uniquely by itself and we stuck to the Orthodox Church as opposed to our Catholic neighbors.
Okay.
Of course you welcome foreigners.
What's that supposed to mean?
Okay.
Our culture discouraged foreigners, going into almost complete isolation in the early 1600s. We kept our culture pure, only taking beliefs that might be able to contribute something to our might. The only city still open to trade was Deshima, and many foolish Westerners and their beliefs, such as Christianity, were repressed. I remember having some 26 crucified. Our country is far better suited to Shintoism and Buddhism.
Only 26.
Do you think you two could elaborate on the state of the peasantry and women's rights in your countries?
I suppose most of our peasants lived on farms. We used the state and agriculture and a serf system, as I previously mentioned.
Right.
The serfs. They could be bought and sold, often lived on the estates and their whole lives. Some claim that the peasants are treated in something reminiscent of slavery, though that's not...
Just reminiscent.
I digress. It was an effective system, though the peasants didn't like it.
And women.
Admittedly, they had fewer rights than when the Mongols controlled Russia, but Westernization brought noble women. Speaking of Westernization, Peter greatly encouraged it under his rule. From clothing to art, Peter forcefully changed the Russian culture.
I've heard a lot about that. It's why they're so close to Europe and why they're often counted as part of Europe.
Indeed.
Alright, Hideyoshi, your take on it?
Well, women were inferior to men, kept hidden in the household, and very rarely given roles of importance outside of the household. We had a class system where the daimyos were considered the most important, followed by the samurai, then the artisans, farmers, and then the merchants. The peasants would be bound to a lord, as I've said before.
Right.
Often enough, daimyo and samurai were particularly interchangeable. Daimyos were often trained as samurais, and samurais may act as lords of their land.
Yeah, I guess that's it for society. Okay. Oh, and it seems our judges have already come to a decision. The winner of today's episode of Battle of the Empires is... nobody.
What?
Sorry guys, we can't declare a victor. All of the developments and cultural quirks we've talked about have contributed and still contribute to Japanese and Russian culture. Since both nations are still going strong, it would be silly to declare one better than the other. Russia has long been known for its strong economy and strict government, just like what's going on today, recently. While Japan's industry and culture gather envy, you're stuck at a stalemate for now. Sorry.
This is Bolshevik.